Hey everyone, this is Nate and this is the Native Tater channel. Today I'm going to do some simple wall shelves. These are hanging shelves that I'm making for books. So the wife has some books she wants to display for a kid's nursery. And these are just going to be shallow shelves that will screw to the wall, and she'll be able to put things there. Now you can also put things like picture frames or other thin devices. So for this, I'm using poplar wood. You can use aspen, pine, other things. Things like aspen and poplar will be a cleaner grain. You can see that there's no knots or anything. This is obviously a select grade wood that I bought, so it's already finished on all four edges, and it's going to be clean. So that's what I'm using. You can use lots of different types. This is going to be a very simple shelf design. All I have to do is cut this stuff to length, and then I do have to rip the wider board, but you could buy the board in the right sizes. So for this, I bought 1x2 by 8 feet and then 1x6 by 8 feet. Now the actual dimensions of this are 3/4 inch thick, and then this one is 1.5 inches wide. The 1x6 is actually 3/4 by 5.5 inches wide. And so I'm going to cut this 5.5 inch wide one into a 2.5 and a 3 inch side. That 3 inch is going to be my back, and then I'll have 2.5 inches coming out, so that's the depth of the shelf. And then this 1.5 inch will be a lip on the front edge that will keep things from falling off or sliding off the shelf. So I will cut these to length. I'm going to make 2 of them 3 feet long and 1 of them 2 feet long. That obviously adds up to the 8 feet that I bought. And then I will show you how I screw it together, screw it and nail it actually, and then staining it and putting it on the wall. Alright, so what I'm going to do for cutting the different pieces is I'm going to use the other one as a guide. That way I get them directly on there. If I was off by even an eighth or a 16th, you would notice it. So I use the piece, I line them up, and I mark them. That way I cut them exactly the same length. There. Okay, now that I have those, now I need to rip the wider piece so I can have both my back and my bottom of the shelf. Alright, so remember this is a 5.5 inch wide board called a 1x6, but I'm going to make a 2.5 inch wide and then a little bit under 3 because I'm going to make the 2.5 inch full, and then we'll take a little bit out with the blade thickness. So I set this up so the fence is 2.5 inches away from the blade, and now I will rip the 3 pieces right down the middle. Okay, so now I have the making of my shelf. I have the 3 inch, which is slightly taller than the 2.5, and then I have my front trim piece like this. So this is now roughly what it's going to look like up against the wall. So you can put your books here. This is against the wall. So now obviously I have a little bit of sanding to do, clean up these edges a little bit. But I'm going to leave all the edges mostly square. I'm not going to routed them or anything. I'm just going to sand them to smooth them out, get rid of the splinters, and then we'll be ready to stain. Since this board is already select board and it's already finished on the 4 sides, I'm only going to use a power sander on the edge that I cut to help knock down that grain. The rest of it I'm just going to do very fine sanding around the edges just to get any last bit of splinters and stuff off. Okay, for the rest of the edges, I'm just going to use a 220 grit on a sanding block, just to kind of take a little bit of the edges down on these corners, anywhere where there's a little splinter or whatnot. Alright, so now to assemble it, I'm just going to take the pieces and lay them out how they're supposed to go. So I have the 1.5 inch sticking up at the lip, we have the 2.5 inch on the bottom, and the back side is this about 3 inches. So I'm just lining up all the edges so that it's all true. I'm also going to clamp it to the table so that it stays put. And then for the 1.5 inch edge, I'm just going to use some finish nails and nail it manually. You can also glue it. You could screw it, but then obviously you have that big screw head. So I'm just going to use some 1.25 inch 3D little finish nails to go through there and attach that front lip. That's really a cosmetic feature. The back side I'm going to screw because the back side is obviously has to hold up all the weight of the shelf ledge. Now, you see I didn't hammer all the way in because I don't want to hit the finished surface with the hammer. So I use a punch to just set it down below the surface. Alright, so once you do that, then you can fill it with putty and sand it so you can hide the nail heads there. Let me flip it over and do the screw edge. Okay, so for this one I'm using some 1.5 inch, these are just regular wood screws. And then I'm going to pre-drill them again so you don't split it, but then on this back side you also have to countersink them. So I have a countersunk bit there. Basically looks like a cone, and that allows the screw head to then sit below the surface so you can go flush up against the wall. If you didn't do that, then when you go to attach this to the wall, you're not going to be able to get it flush because the screw head will interfere. So I'm going to drill and then countersink these screws. Alright. So there we have it. You can see these screws are all below the surface there. And then now I just need to do a little finish sanding, clean it up just slightly, and then it's ready to stain. Now the other thing obviously is I need to drill holes in this to get it into the wall. So what I'm going to do is, I don't know exactly where the studs are. I made these long enough so that this is 36 inches long. The studs will be 32 inches apart there, or they're 16 inches on center. So I know this will capture them, but I don't know exactly where they're going to be. So I should bring this inside. I should mark where the studs are going to line up when I have this centered on the wall, and then I can drill and countersink those as well. Alright, so now these guys are all put together. I do need to wipe them down real fast, get all the sanding dust off, and I might blow them off with a little bit of air. Then I'm going to use some wood stain. This is dark walnut. Obviously you can use whatever you want. This one's oil based, and then I'll do an oil based poly satin finish on top of it after this dries for a while. So let me wipe these down and then I will get going on staining. Alright, I really like this color. It's dark walnut, and it really pulls out the light grain that's in this wood, and it should go well with the rest of the nursery. So I'm gonna let it dry. It says at least an hour, but you don't have to wait too long to top coat with a polyurethane, and I'll do a satin polyurethane. Alright, so these guys have dried up now. It's been about 2 hours, so that's twice the amount of time that it says I need to dry. So now I have a oil-based polyurethane. This is a clear satin. Obviously any oil-based, it has a little bit of color, they call it clear, but really it'll add a little bit of an amber hint to it. But with the satin, the goal there is to not have too much of a sheen going on. So let me do a coat here. I'll need to do at least a couple coats, if not 3 coats. And they have to be about 4 hours apart. So I'll do one now, and then I'll come back later and get another coat in there. Alright, so now we have these shallow shelves that are going to go from the wall here. So I'll have 2 3-footers that are going to go like this, and then 1 2-footer that will go here. And this will allow the wife to put books, you know, facing outward instead of seeing the edge of them, so she can show off the covers. These are like vintage books, so she wants to kind of use them as decoration. So what I did is, this wall here is 4 feet long. The shelf's 3 feet long, so basically I have 6 inches on each side of the shelf to center it, and then you can see the holes here for the studs are, you know, slightly offset. So I just laid this up there, see where the studs are at, and then drill the holes in the correct location. And now I will go ahead and use screws, and these are 2.5 inch wood screws that I'm going to use to secure it to the wall. And with 3 of them, this thing will be plenty sturdy to hold up whatever books she wants to put on there. So let me line this up and screw it in. Alright, so I have it marked, but I'm just going to use a level anyways, just to kind of double check, make sure that we're nice and level. Alright. Now I just have to do this one and the 2-footer. These should also be set up and ready for the wife. Alright, there we have it. These are all done. Now they're all bolted to the wall. They look good, they're nice and flush, and now we can start decorating. Alright, so now the wife has decorated with some books that she likes. You can see it's a nice way to display books with the cover, you know, facing out, and not taking up a whole lot of wall space. You know, it's only, you know, this part's 2.5 inches, and then each of those are about 3/4. You know, so it's only about 4 inches sticking out from the wall. And it's, you can put picture frames, other, you know, small vase or whatever else. So we like it. Hope you enjoy the video. If you want to see more, feel free to like and subscribe my channel, and stay tuned.